Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Effective Living Conversation with Coach Ricardo Miller. I am overjoyed to be able to do this particular talk before Memorial Day weekend really kick off, before the party gets started. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Ricardo Miller, and I have this massive passion and commitment to help and assist those who are equally interested in living their purpose out in their lifetime. You know, there's a statement that says the greatest tragedy in life is not death, but to live without a reason. Well, the greatest joy in life is to be able to find your reason. And so someone says, the day you were born and the day you discovered why are the two most significant days on the planet. Well, today I'm joined with an incredible woman who has a passion and a commitment to providing a level of service to humanity that is second to none. She is a hustler. She is a worker. She is a believer. She is very committed about living life on purpose. I want to welcome back to Effective Living. It's the conversation. Hello, Elizabeth.
Hello. Thank you for having me. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. I am doing wonderful. I love every day. I don't just love weekends. I don't just enjoy evenings. There's a statement people talk about, thank God it's Friday. I'm like, thank God I'm alive. Thank God
Amen.
I'm alive. And so today I'm overjoyed because I have the privilege to do what I was born to do. And today we're going to have a conversation with you and your story. How you been doing, first and foremost?
Very blessed. Very blessed.
That's what
Every
I'm
day
talking.
is a new day and with new opportunities for me to be able to grow and live my purpose.
Nice, nice. Now, Beth, your story is an amazing story. We've talked about it before, but we wanted to come back in and do another recap. And so, before we dive into the depth of your story, tell our viewing audience just that first introductory of, Elizabeth McCoy.
Uh, well, I'm Elizabeth McCoy. I'm from a small town in Kansas. Grew up uh, very outdoorsy, playing with my horses, fishing, hunting, singing, active in sports, just very, very outgoing and busy, doing things all the
So
time.
you were that active young lady, and you love the outdoors, the wildlife, the whole. You know what? Oh my goodness! It's springtime. It is summertime. Were you a water person?
Yes, I grew up swimming in our pond, in the river, going to lakes every summer. My mom worked for a boat company, so every summer we would get to go to Grand Lake in Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and we had the use of a boat, and we got to stay in a condo and had a blast with jet skis, skiing, tubing.
Yeah. So I must say that she had to have made sure you learned how to swim, so you can swim.
Oh yeah, we had a pool growing up, so I was taking swimming lessons, very much in the water every summer, every day growing up. So I was more fish than human.
Tell us a little bit about your love for horses. I remember hearing you talk about having horses growing up and your love for horses. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, just being on my horse was felt like pure freedom. Um, just loved getting out in the pasture or on our hill and just riding. Bob was my gelding's name, and he just loved to run. Give him a good kick, and if I would hold him back and not let him run, he would start kicking and bucking like, "Okay, let me go. I'm ready to run. Let me go." So.
People say horses are pretty difficult to train. Do you agree with that, or is it just sort of a natural skill some people have?
It depends on age and there's a lot of factors. The younger they are, the better, in order to train them and break them and stuff like that. But and it depends. Some breeds are easier than others. Our mare was an Arabian, and she was pretty high strung, so wasn't the best kid's horse until she foaled for the first time, and then she became more gentle and not quite as high strung.
Wow, I learned a few things from you just there. I'm a lover of horses as well. I've been riding horses a lot lately. I have never owned a horse. I was considering owning one, but then I discovered that the maintenance on a horse is pretty costly. So it really does get you. You're going to put out some money if you're going to own a horse. I think you're frozen.
Yep, especially on any age. Uh,
You are freezing up.
yep. Oh, I was going in and out. I'm taking stuff
Okay.
off
I think we're better now.
the door. I wanted to try to open the door to my office to see if that helps.
I understand. Well, thank you again. Yeah, so I was saying that I wanted to buy a horse, but I thought, boy, after looking into the prices, the price was reasonable, but the maintenance is something else.
Yeah, all of the hay, and if you don't have pasture land to keep the horse on, you got to pay for stables and fees with that, and that can get pretty costly.
Yeah. So pray for me because I'm believing God that my next property will be about 5 acres. I think I'll be able to put a horse on a 5 acre property.
Oh, oh, easily, easily.
Yeah. Yeah. That's my hope. That's my prayer. Let's dive into your story, Beth. You had a life altering accident occurring in your life early on. And I wanted to talk about that because we spoke about it before, but for those who are watching us for the very first time, let's dive into your story. Tell us a little bit about that accident.
In August of 2000, a week into my freshman year of high school, uh, my best friend's mom and I were headed to the movies when we were struck from behind and we barrel rolled multiple times. I suffered a traumatic brain injury that affected me just like a stroke. I was placed in a drug induced coma because my brain was swelling. Doctors told my parents the first 48 to 72 hours were very critical. I had maybe a 50% chance of making it. And then after that first 72-hour period, my chances would become better.
Wow. That accident. You were going to the movies. Let's do a reflection on this. You were hanging with a friend. I mean, the whole idea was okay. We're gonna have a great day. Prior to the accident, let's go there for a moment. You had some plans for your life. You were about your father's business in developing your gifts. Tell us a little bit about that before we go a little bit more into your story about the accident.
Yes, I was a singer songwriter, had been performing and singing since the age of 7. Had voice lessons every Saturday morning. Um, my plans were at that point after high school to move to Nashville and pursue my singing. My voice teacher had actually got me into a recording studio about 6 months prior to the car accident to cut a demo tape. to send to recording studios in Nashville. We had professional pictures taken, the whole 9 yards, just to get me ready to pursue my dreams of singing and performing. I'd been singing and performing since the age of 7.
Wow.
I had my whole life ahead of me and was
Wow.
excited about where I was headed.
Beth, thinking about your accident, a lot of people never think about the reality that anytime you get on a highway, anytime you get in a car, anytime you're out there driving about, it's not only how you're driving, it's also it's also the fact that someone else can be driving and driving in a way that is so reckless, or even it can be just a mere accident, something beyond their control, but you could be doing all what you're supposed to do and still find yourself wrecked. Talk to us a little bit about that, that some people just don't realize that sometimes it's not what you did. Sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, uh, you're on the road driving and someone else ends up doing something that actually causes you misery.
Yeah, I learned after the accident, don't ever take anything for granted. Each day, live it to the fullest. Go after your dreams, go after your goals,
Yeah,
um, and just live each day like it's going to be your last, because you never know when something may happen.
yeah.
Um,
And I'm old enough now, Beth. I've discovered that somebody's going every day, and somebody's going who didn't plan to go. But thanks be to God that both you and I are here, and our viewers, and we're going to dive into this. I wrote down a couple of questions, and so, how old were you when the accident happened, and what were some of the things you found yourself being limited in, not being able to do after the accident?
I was 14. It was one week into my freshman year of high school. When I came out of my coma, I basically had to learn how to walk, talk, and do everything again. So it was a long road of therapy in the hospital, outpatient therapy at a rehab institute, Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, every day for 6 to 7 weeks. Just a long road. I found myself just really struggling. I needed help with my bathing. I needed help with my dressing. I had to relearn how to do all of that again.
Wow, a long road to recovery. I think that sounds like a book. It sounds like a book. Let's talk about your mindset once you started to realize, wow. Uh, was it very frustrating, or did you find yourself, some people respond differently, Elizabeth. Some people respond differently. Some people, when I was younger, I would throw a fit. I mean, if things didn't work out for me, I would throw a fit, and I just felt like everybody's wrong, and why me? And then I grew up to the point where I just kept it all in, and that wasn't good either. And then
Mm-mm.
I'm at this stage of my life now where it could be worse. And I'm often thinking, well, don't throw a fit because somebody is praying for what you're taking little regard for. That's my position today. So I'm not frustrated as much. If you see me frustrated, you best believe I've chosen to stop thinking like a reasonable person, and I've chosen just to be an idiot.
Yeah, there were so many times that I wanted to give up. I would come home from school, something would have happened that day, and I told my parents that I should have died. I wish I was dead.
Wow.
Um, Many struggles, a lot of times of asking why me,
Yeah.
but overall, I was still able to maintain a positive mindset. Um, God was always that voice in my heart saying, I have a plan for you. So even on the difficult days before I'd go to bed, I would pray to Him, thanking Him for my life and my blessings, and asking Him to lead me and help me to make the right choices so that I could help those that He placed in my path. I'm just very very thankful that he was always there to give me the strength to keep going.
That's so good. I'm so grateful that you mentioned that because for somebody who's watching us right now, let's talk about that a little bit. That positive mindset. Obviously, the Bible tells us in I think it's First Thessalonians. It talks about whatsoever things are lovely and just and of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any, think on these things. Positive mindset is a must. The recovery process demands that you become positive because if you're a Debbie Downer and you keep negatively feeding yourself in doubt and unbelief, it hinders your ability to recover. Do you agree?
Oh, yes, definitely. And because I was positive some of the time didn't mean that I didn't still go back to that negative why me.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
many of those a week, that something would have happened at school, that made me go back to this why me, Lord, why me?
Yeah.
Um, but luckily, he was that voice, or he would open a door to a new opportunity that let me know that he was right beside me and not gonna forsake me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I heard motivational speaker Les Brown says, when he said why me, he says, the answer came back to him, why not you? Who you? Hey, and then the question came, who do you think it should be? Who do
yes.
you think? Because life is going to throw us all a challenge. I respect you so much, Elizabeth. I admire your story and your commitment to be a voice of hope to so many people who could find themselves in this type of position. And it's not easy. You had those moments where you said, why me? But you got past those moments to becoming a fighter. I wrote down here, you were hospitalized. Tell us a little bit about your hospitalization experience. What were some of the things you remember that, good, bad, or indifference?
Uh, ju- it was very difficult for me to get a good night's sleep. I was such a light sleeper after the accident. Before the accident, I could sleep through anything. I could sleep through my dad snoring that sounded like a freight train. But after the accident, I wake up at the drop of a hat with
Wow.
any slight noise. That was the most difficult. After a traumatic brain injury, you need rest. Um, and if you aren't able to get that good night's rest at night, that's going to pull you down and make things difficult.
Yeah.
So, definitely the difficulty sleeping, just having to get up every day and try to take steps, try to stand for longer periods of time, making gains to where I could take a shower by myself eventually. Months I was requiring assist with the shower just because I fatigued so easily.
Wow. So, visitation to the hospital, who would have been some of the people that you could probably recall having come by and visit? And what was that experience like? What did your mom tell you about, who was trying to come visit you and how was the visiting experience? Because, somebody right now is in the hospital, somebody's laying in that bed and they don't want to accept visitors. Are visitors important? Is that something you were looking forward to have people come by and see you, or did you find yourself not really wanting to see anybody?
It just depended. Looking back through a lot of my medical records, if I was tired, sometimes, and I wanted to take a nap, I would want people to leave the room. Once I was in the rehab hospital doing the 3 hours of rehab every day, um, my mom was with me every day. My brother, sister-in-law, and my dad would come up every weekend to see me because the hospital was 2.5 hours away from where we lived. Uh, there was a few times that friends from school, a group of 5 friends, would come and see me, and that got me excited. I was happy to see them. Um, Getting to be able to get out of the hospital and go sit outside, reading through some of the records. I could tolerate it for a little bit, but then I just fatigued so easily that I was ready to go back in, get back in the bed, and rest.
Let's talk about this, Beth. You survived that. You survived that season. What were three of the most difficult things you had to deal with during the recovery process that you would sort of think about and probably now that you are where you are? What three things come to mind?
Feeling alone and isolated once I got back into school. My friends' lives went on. Mine just kind of stood still. Therapy every day of the week, homework, working on homework in the evenings, on the weekends, having to hire tutors, schoolwork taking so much more of my time. Um, Judgment, feeling like people would look at me and see something physically wrong with me, whether it was that my right eye wasn't open, um, or my left arm was drawn up due to muscle tone. Just people would look at me and judge me for the way I appeared instead of getting to know who I was on the inside. And then just the not being able to sleep well, just trying to recoup, and difficulties waking up in the morning. If I would get 2 to 3 hours of halfway decent sleep, it wasn't enough. Some
Yeah.
mornings I didn't want to get out of bed.
Wow.
It was a struggle for a lot of years to be able to get out of bed each morning. I also dealt with a lot of sickness throughout high school. I had a weakened immunity, so I got sick often. Missed a lot of school with that.
Yeah. Beth, the with you sharing that, there are so many people who, life throws them these curveballs and they have to fight through it like you had to fight through it. But there are so many people who don't understand, can't relate. What would you say to that person who, sometimes they're judge you could see they're judging. You could see the judgmental dynamics and what would you say to that person? Don't judge, or how not to judge? What would you say to that person? You're doing okay, but you don't know my story, or not only your story, but someone watching this again is in the hospital and maybe an arm is about to be amputated or losing two legs, and they're thinking, oh my goodness, people are going to look at me funny. Talk to the people who need to change how they respond to people when life throws them a curveball, throws them in, when they end up with a situation that causes them to not be normal like they would have been. Talk to those persons and say something to them to encourage them. Be careful how you will respond to people who have gone through an accident. What's your thoughts?
My biggest takeaway is those people that are going to judge you. What I have learned over the years, they aren't worth your time.
Yeah.
Um, Seek out the people who welcome you and support you and are there for you. Don't let those people that judge you take any of your happiness away, because you are strong. You can get through this. You can do it. Where there's a will, there's a way. If plan A doesn't work, change the plan. You can do it. You can get through this. I'm living proof of that.
Wow. Wow. Whoo, that was so good just now. Ladies and gentlemen, Elizabeth McCoy, we're talking about her story. A life altering accident changed her life forever, but she decided that she was going to continue to keep pressing forward, and that because she was given a new day, a new month, and new years after the accident, she made a commitment that she would not stay in bed, she would not stay in a wheelchair, she will not stay saying a sad story, oh me, oh my, and why me. But she decided that she was going to become a motivator, someone to inspire others, someone to encourage others to progressively move forward. What you just said just now, Beth, was a mouthful, and it was so necessary because you are right. Let's talk about this before we end our talk. Someone is assigned to help you. Someone is assigned to support you. Someone is assigned to celebrate you. Someone will walk with you. Clearly, you have all of those people in your life. Tell us a little bit about the support system that you found yourself having on your journey to becoming who you are today?
My family was a huge support. My mom, my dad, my brother, sister in law, uncles, aunts, grandparents, taking me to therapy, taking me to doctor's appointments. My mom was really a good advocate for specialists if I needed specialists because we couldn't figure out what was going on medically with me. Um, they just always there to support me and keep me going, keep me strong, not letting me give up. Um, God was always right there beside me. That's the number one thing that got me through. He was always by my side through the hard times. Um, I was able to rely on Him to help give me strength and keep me going. He provided and continues to provide through opening the right doors for me to give me the right opportunities to succeed. He will not fail you. Philippians 4, verse 6 and 7 says, "Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him for all He has done. Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything you can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus." If it wasn't for the peace that He would bring me in those difficult times, I wouldn't be here right now.
Wow, wow, wow. Ooh, Beth, you're ready to preach. No, it is a blessing. I can hear the passion coming through, knowing that God was on your side in the midst of life's most challenging times in your life. And then he gave you the most supportive group of people on the planet to walk with you through your journey up to this point. And they're continuing to walk with you. Tell our viewing audience a little bit about what you are about now. What is Beth doing now? I know you work, you're an entrepreneur, but now you've also established Elizabeth, McCoy Inspires. Talk to us about the differences between those dynamics that you are responsible for and that you are making happen.
Well, I graduated with my degree in occupational therapy, where I found God using me when I would work with a patient who had suffered a stroke, who said that they couldn't do it, they couldn't get through this. I could sit across from them and tell them my story. And on the day I discharged them home, they'd give me a hug and say, "Beth, I couldn't have gotten through this without you." Um, 3 years ago, God brought into my life a company with products that have helped me to regain my life, helped me to get a better night's sleep, helped me to wake up with energy, helped me with my discomforts. And I'm very blessed that I'm able to partner with this company and be able to educate and provide these natural solutions to others. Everybody that I'm able to help through this line, Hope for Natural Health, as a holistic health coach, is such a blessing, so much more of a blessing to me than any of the benefits that I've received. And then Elizabeth McCoy Inspires. God was always that voice in my heart saying, "I have a plan for you. Keep going." I started giving my testimony in churches in 2017, I believe, and I've been speaking in churches ever since then, giving my testimony. And the people that would walk up to me after I'd given my testimony, some of them would say, "Beth, I wasn't going to come tonight, but something was telling me I needed to be here. I know now that that was God. I needed to hear your story. Thank you." Um, with the doors He is opening for me to be able to get on stages and be able to help more people, I'm just so overwhelmed and thankful, grateful for all of the opportunities that He has provided and that He is continuing to provide for me to be able to help others.
That is so awesome. So cool. Ladies and gentlemen, Elizabeth McCoy, she is the woman with a story that will inspire us. Now, here's the deal. She is available to come and speak. And so if you have an organization, you have an upcoming event, you're looking to allow some young people to feel, see, and believe again that they too can overcome life's most difficult challenges, go ahead and reach out to Elizabeth McCoy. As a matter of fact, you can follow her on all social media platforms. You know, when someone like Elizabeth decides to get back up and sell and says to the devil, you know, what you meant for bad, God is going to turn around for the good. I'm going to make an impact in the earth through using my story to make a difference in the lives of those who are needing some hope and some encouragement. Elizabeth, you truly is an example of inspiration and encouragement. You know, I love following you on social media, guys. If you're not following her on social media anywhere, make sure Twitter, you follow her, Facebook, you follow her, YouTube, LinkedIn. The woman is there. How do you do it? Some people are going to start asking that question more and more. But Beth, what's your closing thoughts to your viewing audience?
Just don't give up. If you are struggling through some difficulties right now, let those struggles be lessons. Learn from that so that you can grow. Grow to be who you are meant to be. I'm living proof that everybody has a purpose, and God can use your struggles to help you to get where you need to be and do what you're meant to do in life.
That's what I'm talking about. Well, I'm Coach Ricardo Miller, and this has been Elizabeth McCoy. We both were talking today about her story. Please continue to follow her platform, and support her by making sure that when the opportunity presents itself for you to find that speaker that's going to come into that room, that classroom, or enter that stage that's going to make a difference, consider having Elizabeth McCoy to be the speaker. I promise you, when she shares her story, even more so than what you heard today, lives are going to be changed, and you're going to be grateful for having her be a part of your event or to share with those you know lives needing to be impacted and needing to be encouraged. Once again, Elizabeth, thank you so much. You're such a blessing. God bless you.
Thank you, Ricardo, for having me on today. It was a blessing to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Effective Living offers life management group coaching. This is a great introductory option for those who are ready for guidance to structure your life in such a way where there is a harmonious balance between having enthusiasm for what you need to do, coupled with fulfillment of doing what you want to do. Join our group coaching program today to start creating a life you don't need to take a vacation from. More information about our group coaching program can be found at www.ricardomiller.com.